Hi, welcome to Mondays with Mary. So far we've looked at the Mary, the Mother of God, we've looked at the perpetual virginity and the Immaculate Conception. The last dogma, Marian dogma, to take a look at is the Assumption. It's not only the last one that we're going to look at, but it's the last one that was proclaimed, having been done so just on November 1st, 1950, when Pope Pius XII put out his Apostolic Constitution, Munificentissimus Deus. So this may be perhaps the least known of the Marian dogmas, and in some ways people want to know what the big deal is, but let's talk about it. First, when he proclaimed it as an infallible teaching, Pope Pius wrote, "The Immaculate Mother of God, the ever-Virgin Mary, having completed the course of her earthly life, was assumed body and soul into heaven." So that's what we're required to believe as Catholics, that Mary was assumed body and soul into heaven when her earthly life had finished. Let's break that down a little bit. First, I want to point out that he refers to the previous three dogmas, showing that there's a holistic approach to this, that we're looking at Mary as a whole person, and that one dogma supports and follows from and gives rise to the other. It's not that you can just take one dogma and have it stand alone in a sense, but rather they support one another and they build on one another. So this assumption is in some sense a logical conclusion from the previous three, although it's not the last to have been believed, but was believed again from the earliest times of the church. So just wanted to throw that out there. Second, he talks about the Mary's earthly life having been completed. This is where some people get confused and they think that the dogma is defining that Mary never died. However, that's not the case. In fact, the vast majority of theologians believe that Mary did die. Reasons for this are many, so I'll just give you a few. First of all, in the Constitution itself, Pope Pius refers to various sources quoting that Mary died. So Pope Adrian says that Mary had a temporal death. St. John Damascene says that Mary knew no corruption even after death. An ancient text talks about Mary being risen from the tomb, and many others. And so we see that it was certainly on his mind, that the tradition of the church was that Mary had died before her Assumption. Another couple of things is, one, that in the East and West icon there are, of the Dormition, Mary's soul and body are separate, suggesting that, well, showing that she in fact had died before she was assumed into heaven. A listener recently asked me why there are tombs of Our Lady if she never died. Well, that's exactly the point. There are tombs that pilgrims have been going to as Mary's death, where Mary had been buried. If Mary had never died, there wouldn't be tombs. In fact, there are tombs, and therefore that suggests that Mary indeed did die. But again, this isn't a matter of dogma. You can believe either way. Vast majority of theologians believe that she did die, but you're free to believe that she didn't. What we do need to believe is just this last part, and that namely is that she assumed body and soul into heaven. What does this mean? Body and soul. So Mary, after her death, her soul and her body were reunited, her body having not known any corruption, and she assumed and went into her heavenly glory. Now, this isn't out of the realms of possibility. We know Elijah himself was assumed into heaven, body and soul. We know that Jesus' body is in heaven, and so and perhaps Moses is, based on the transfiguration. And so Mary's body too is in heaven, in heavenly glory. It was proper and fitting that it knew no corruption because she was holy. She was the holiest human to ever be created, and that is saying a lot. And we see in Psalm 16:10, the psalmist says that the Holy One knows not decay. And so the Acts of the Apostles points out to us that are talking about Jesus in that, but it would refer also to Mary, who also was sinless thanks to the grace of God. Now, so she's assumed body and soul, but she's also assumed, so she's not ascended. Jesus ascended. It was by his own power, that is the power of God, that he went to heaven, body and soul. Mary, on the other hand, was not ascended, she was assumed. That is, she was taken up into heaven, body and soul. Just like all the other Marian privileges, this privilege was because she was the Mother of God, because she was all holy, and because it was the will of God that she be with him in heaven, body and soul. And this again points out to us the beauty of Mary and how Mary is our hope. Mary is our hope insofar as we look at her and we say, that's our destiny. Our destiny is to be body and soul, one person in heaven with our Lord Jesus Christ. And so she stands out for us as a reminder of our wonderful calling. So 5 minutes is up. That's the Assumption in a nutshell. Of course, we're going to talk about it more later. But in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. God bless.